Welcome to DS Trucks. Guys, we've talked about this a number of times on the channel. Which engine is right for you? Now, we're comparing the 3.5 liter EcoBoost that we have in our 2018 F-150 against our 2.7 liter EcoBoost in our 2019 F-150. And I've had time now to drive both these trucks, same rear gear, and I want to talk about some of the pros and cons of both. And this is something I've been doing for a while now on the channel. Now, I will say this, the 2.7 is nothing but impressive. It was the first F-150 engine that I had back in 2015. I bought a 2015, or at least a 2015 F-150 with the 2.7 EcoBoost, and I was in love with that engine. It had way more power than I thought I was going to get, and the performance and speed was great. You know, it was a fast truck. It was one of the fastest trucks that you could have gotten at the time, and I had nothing but a good time with it. It had a 6-speed versus now it has a 10-speed, and I just enjoyed that truck. Now fast forward to the tail end of 2017. After having that truck, I went ahead and leased a 2018 F-150, and then for this one, I stepped up to the 3.5 EcoBoost, and that was just about 3 years ago now, and we're at the tail end of our lease here, and I've had this truck for a while and can really talk about the difference of driving dynamics, fuel economy, performance, and what engine is the better engine. So this 355 is a 6.5 foot bed, 355 rear gear, 4-wheel drive lariat, so you get 4-wheel drive auto versus an XLT. In the form of an XLT like my wife's truck, you cannot get 4-wheel drive auto. The difference in the engines, and if you're in the market for one of these engines, one of these trucks, the difference in the engine is going to be about 1 to 2 mpg better in the form of the 2.7 liter EcoBoost. So it's going to get about 1 to 2 mpg better. Now that's not dramatic. That's not a deal breaker or anything like that for the 3.5, but it is a little bit of savings, and it really could be more too. If you're gonna really maximize and hyperdrive and coast behind maybe a semi truck or something like that, or just if you just keep your speeds down to like 55, 60, if you're one of those people that drive a little slower, a little more conservatively on the highway, I know there's a lot of people like that, then this engine can return better MPG than what the EPA is rated. And then on the flip side, if you drive 85 miles an hour, it's going to be a little bit less. So it's one of those things where it depends on how you drive, and I think it really does deliver on its promises based on what I've seen in my own testing. Now, speed-wise, the trucks are going to be very similar. So if you start measuring 0 to 60s and things like that, the trucks are going to be very similar. Now, I think that 3.5 EcoBoost is faster than the 2.7 EcoBoost because of the torque curve and all that. I think the issue is when you start getting into a lot of the 3.5 EcoBoost trim levels, most of the time you're going to be higher trim levels because it's more of a premium engine, and they're going to be heavier trucks. So this particular truck, I believe, weighs about 400 pounds more than this one. So being a Lariat versus an XLT with a sunroof and things like that, you're just going to be a heavier truck. Then these trucks with that EcoBoost being a couple hundred pounds heavier and having more trim, they're about the same speed. So depending on how you get it, how you launch it and all that, and who's driving, these trucks are going to be pretty close to the same speed. But I think if it were apple to apples, if it was the same trim, same truck, same everything, and just the engine was different, I think the 3.5 EcoBoost would win every time. But in this case, like I said, we have more weight, we have more features, we have more trim, so the 3.5 EcoBoost is going to be a little bit slower. Towing wise, the 2.7 will impress you while towing. It does everything it needs to do when it comes to towing. It has no issues. Just because it's a 2.7, it doesn't have any issues. The difference in the towing is that with the 2.7, you're going to get a little bit better MPG again towing, and it doesn't seem to be as affected by weight as much with regards to MPG. So the more weight you throw at it, it can somehow get a really good MPG, even though it has more weight. I've gotten up to 17 miles per gallon towing our 14-foot dump trailer empty, which is about 4,000 pounds, give or take, maybe a couple hundred pounds more. But yeah, we can get 17 towing this dump trailer. Now, that's insane, because that's better MPG than this Super Duty can get empty. So this is our 6.2 V8 Super Duty. It's got 430 gearing, and it can't even get the same MPG that the 2.7 can get while towing a dump trailer, which is nothing short of amazing. Now the 3.5 EcoBoost can also get pretty good MPG while towing, but the 2.7, I believe, because it has the water-cooled exhaust and it has better heat management and system of the engine, it just, for whatever reason, under load, it responds well. The thing with the 3.5 EcoBoost while towing our 14-foot dump trailer is I noticed that it remains quick. Like, it's still fast while you're towing. Like, it just has so much power and so much low-end torque. The 2.7 has more of a torque curve more similar, to my opinion, to a V8. It doesn't have that low-end grunt like the 3.5 has. The 2.7 doesn't have the low-end grunt and the low-end pull, but it has a really good torque curve for towing. Not racing while towing, but just regular towing, getting work done, taking care of business. Has a really good torque curve for towing. Now, for drivability, the 2.7's a little bit smoother, and it's a little bit, it's a little bit better of a cruiser. It's a smaller V6, so it has a little bit less vibration. It just runs like you can barely tell it's running. It's just the most refined engine as far as smoothness is concerned that you can get. And it's interesting because it is your entry-level Ford engine, and you don't make any compromises when you go for the 2.7 EcoBoost. I mean, it's going, a lot of times when you get the low-end engine from a manufacturer, you kind of make a compromise, but not the case with the 2.7. Now, the 3.5, the benefit is it has a really aggressive drive. Like, it has the low-end torque, it has the seat-of-the-pants feel regularly. Like, you could literally feel that torque every time you drive it, and you can be in the torque, you can be in the power, and it's just right there. The torque is in a place where if you want to drive fast, you can do it. You don't necessarily have to get in trouble doing it, because you don't need to let the engine wind up. You could really have a lot of fun from 0 to about 45, 0 to about 60 without speeding. Whereas a lot of these other V8s, they're fun, but not quite as fun from 0 to 60. A lot of V8s, I feel like they're fun from like 0 to 60 to 90. Then you're having, more, you're getting into your power, compared to this 3.5 EcoBoost, which is extremely powerful from 0 to 60, from 60 to 80. And it just pulls no matter what. And it pulls while towing. Like, you could be towing a dump trailer and you could just feel that you have power left over to spare. Like, it's just, and it's a perfect amount of power. It's not that powerful to where it's too much and it loses some drivability. I've been driving a lot of these 2020 Power Strokes around and, test driving them. I'm thinking about getting one. But what I'm noticing is that 1,000 foot-pounds of low-end torque, it's a lot of torque to have available from the low end, and it's almost like it feels like it's too much power for the application, particularly while empty driving. Whereas this, it feels like you're able to use your power, and it feels like with the new Power Stroke, it's almost too much torque. And it's probably something you just have to get used to, but a lot of guys complain about the tire wear on these new Power Strokes, where this has the right amount of power that you can use daily. You can, let's just say you have a friend or whatever, and you're showing off your truck, whatever. You can use that low-end torque without having to speed or anything like that. And I actually did race 2026-7 F350 with this truck. I don't want to give away the result of that race, but I do want to say that this truck did really well. I don't want to say that it won or lost, because that video is coming up here in the future on the channel, But I will say that it does have a bit more low end torque, in the sense that you have more torque for the weight of the vehicle. Now obviously the 6.7 has more low end torque, but you have more torque available for the weight of the vehicle to get the vehicle moving, whereas the 6.7 has that torque, but it takes a minute for that turbo to spool up on the 6.7. But once the turbo spools up on the 6.7, it starts powering through. But this thing has boost quicker than the bigger turbo that you get on like a Power Stroke. This thing makes boost right from the get-go. So it's like I was blown away by how it performs. So stay tuned to the channel, because that is coming up, where we raced the 6.7 liter Power Stroke against our 6.2 V8, and then we came back with our 3.5 EcoBoost, because the 6.2, you have to just tune in and see how the 6.2, because when these racing videos come out, the 6.2 is going to come out first against the Power Stroke. Comment and tell me what you think. Our 6.2 does have some tricks up its sleeves. Yeah, it's a 6.2, but it's got 430 gears, which helps you with launching and low end torque. And you know, it's lighter. This truck is a solid like 1,200 pounds lighter than the truck that it raced. It raced a high trim level Lariat diesel with a 355 rear gear, versus this truck, which is a XL with a 430 gear but a gas engine. So comment below, tell me what you think, and stay tuned to the channel, because that is coming in a couple of days here. But the main benefit between the two trucks, the 3.5 EcoBoost and the 2.7 EcoBoost, is going to come down to your 3.5 is going to be your aggressive, high performance feel. It just has way more low end torque. The torque curve on the 3.5 is better than the 2.7. Has way more low end torque. It pulls harder, tows. When you're towing, it tows harder, it pulls harder, and it just feels like you have extra power, particularly on the low end. And then it keeps pulling even more as the speed even increases. Where the 2.7, it's quick, but on the top end, on higher speeds, it kind of gets you off the line good. It kind of okay in the mid, but when you're going from like 60 to 80, it's kind of a little bit not that fast, but it's still good enough. You can still pass. It's still good enough. So I think at the end of the day, if you're really interested in engines, and if you're really interested in doing some pulls and power pulls and all that, 3.5 EcoBoost is the way to go. Because then when it comes to modifying your truck, there's tons of options for the 3.5 EcoBoost. And depending on how far you want to go, you could do, for not that much money, a full engine build and get a block that can handle up to 900 horsepower. It's not that much. I mean, it's expensive, but $5-6 grand, whatever, if you could remove and pull the engine, whatever, you could get some insane numbers, horsepower and torque numbers, out of the 3.5. With the 2.7, the 2.7 is really technically a superior design because of the fact it has the water cooled exhaust, and it makes more power per cubic inch than the 3.5 or probably any other engine available in the pickup. More torque per cubic inch. In fact, if you scaled this up to say a 5.0, whatever, if it's scaled evenly with power to displacement, it would be like 700 horsepower. But the problem is that it's 270. It's a 2.7 liter, 2.7 liters of displacement. While it's superior in every other way, it's only 2.7 liters of displacement, and it can't really ever go that far. Now, if you tune it and all that, you could always get more out of this, but the aftermarket support isn't as good as the 3.5, and there's really not a ton of options as of right now as far as like full builds. But in theory, it could be better. Honestly, this design is probably better, but it's just smaller. It's just smaller displacement. So your 3.5 is going to have better internals from the factory. It's going to have better rods, better crank. I would argue it has a better block. It's to be debated because the block on the 2.7 is a compacted graphite iron. But does that really mean it's stronger? We don't know. You know, I don't know. It's not like a diesel block. It's made from the same materials, but it's incorporated in a lighter manner, and it's used in a way to save weight, not necessarily to be heavy duty like a diesel engine. So it is what it is. it has a multi-sectional type of block where it's not all on like one piece. It has like compacted graphite midsection and like a lower section and all these different sections. So I'm not going to come out and say that this is as strong as a diesel's because it has the compacted graphite engine block. I think honestly the 3.5 block is probably stronger than the 2.7 block, even though it's all aluminum. It's a strong block. The block, for what it makes as far as horsepower and torque, the block is not its weakness. Really, it can even handle more horsepower and torque. You know, if you did an engine build on this and did pistons or something, whatever, there's so many aftermarket. So in closing, the main benefit to the 3.5 is going to be, how do you want to drive? Do you want to drive fast? Do you want to feel torque constantly? Or do you want really that aggressive feel? You want people to feel like they're put back into their seat? Then that's the 3.5 EcoBoost. It's a premium engine. It comes at a premium. I believe they cost like $2,500 more, $3,000 more, which is worth what you get. Now the 2.7, it is a more advanced engine. It has more technology built into it. At the end of the day, it's going to be more efficient. It's going to be smoother on the longer drives. Is it going to be faster? It's going to be really close. In some cases, it's going to be faster. Looks like someone's going somewhere and taking my truck. Just started up. I think my old lady's going to take it. In some cases, though, it's going to be faster than your 3.5. If it's a lighter truck and you get a heavy 3.5, it can be quicker. It's still going to be quicker than most of the other trucks on the road from other brands. And, you know, it is still going to be a good engine. Now, if you're not really that concerned about the engine, you're going to get a lot of value out of it. And, you know, a lot of people don't care about their engine. Like, a lot of people are just going to drive the vehicle and use it for what it is, and they're not concerned about it. As long as it starts up and runs, goes, and that's definitely the 2.7 and more. The 2.7 is going to even appeal to people who are interested in engines. So, in closing, you know, the 2.7 is great. It's a great entry-level engine. I think it's the best entry-level engine from any manufacturer that you can get. The only engine underneath it would be like the 3.3 non-turbo, which no one ever gets that. It's very, very few on the road. Then the 5.0. You know, I don't want to forget about the 5.0. I don't own a 5.0. I never did, but I've driven them. And the 5.0 is going to be better than your 2.7. You know, it's not going to be as efficient, but it's going to be a better engine than the 2.7. It is what it is. I would love to say the 2.7 is better than the 5.0. It comes really close. But Ford, they had their engines in line just right. Your 2.7, then your 5.0, then your 3.5 is the top dog. And I think they've nailed it and they have it just right. So your 5.0 is still a great engine. But that's it for the video, guys. We talked long enough. Stay tuned to the channel to see our racing videos coming up. And thank you for watching. We're just talking trucks. This is DS Trucks, guys, where we run nothing but the best. Thank you for watching. Over and out. And see you guys in the next video.